So this video, I'm gonna talk about why international thinking will make you rich. So me, I have a rags to riches story, right? But a lot of people they don't even know me. Why? Because I move around, and I actually move around, right? I don't have time to be on this podcast and then go on that podcast and then this podcast, and because I'm trying to do some, I'm always moving, right? So I'm gonna tell you why international thinking is much better. Because for one, when you travel, you see different things. So you're developing different ideas because of what you see. Like a person who's just in their city, this one city, and they think, oh, this is my city and this is you're not nothing because you're here and like, come on, like just rule that person out. Just automatically delete them from intelligence, right? Because for one, even analytics are not even city based. Like data is not even city based, right? You can get millions of listeners in Pakistan or Japan while you're in Canada. So that's another thing. And then another thing, you have to think that some, like when you're a generalist, you realize who are good at what things. Like there's some countries that are better at other things than other people. Like Americans are good at sales, right? Americans are very good at sales. But when it comes to like Facebook and Google and all these things, Pakistanians and Bangladeshians, they're just better. They're better at that because I don't know, maybe they don't have the opportunities that Americans have on a salary base for regular things like welding and mechanics and all this. They don't make as much money from a regular job, right? So they have to leverage technology. So they're better at that because they're making so much money on a from a service point of view. So they learn it better than the Americans. That's just what it is. Because because digital marketing, the best digital marketers are self-educated. They're not school educated. The best digital marketer didn't go to Harvard. If you take a if I got a digital marketer and it says Harvard on it, I wouldn't care. I don't care. I want to know how much have you made for people? What software did you use? What platforms did you use? Because you can't fake that. You can fake a degree. You can be like, oh, I went to Harvard, and then it's like, who cares? You didn't. What did you work on? Nobody cares. Yeah, the people who's trying to hire you may care, but that's in that realm, right? That's if you're trying to go to work for I guess a Facebook. But even would Facebook care that you went to Harvard? Why? Why would Facebook care that you went to Harvard? Right? It's people in Harvard who they don't know anything about that, right? They're at Harvard. Harvard, that's what I'm saying. College is kind of it's outdated. It's an outdated thing, right? Because I guarantee you, if you go to Harvard or you go to Princeton, right, all of the courses that they're studying, they're already online. So who cares that you went to Harvard or Princeton? You just paid a lot of money. You just pay. Yeah, you got the credentials, but who's going to hire you? The only people that's going to hire you because you went to Harvard or Princeton are companies that need that type of personality, right? They don't care about you being good. They care about your personality, right? Being good has nothing to do with you wearing a suit. I don't care if somebody approaches me and they wear a suit. I'm like, I don't care. What can you do? Who cares if you wear a suit? Like, if you told me, oh, I can start you a store and make you $1 million, and you're wearing a T-shirt, and then a guy who's wearing a suit, he comes to me and his store is all messed up, and he's slow because he has to get up and he has to put on the suit, and he has to wear the tie, and he has to then your time is being used to wear a suit. You're not working. You see what I'm saying? But the guy who gets up and he's just wearing a t-shirt and he can get up and learn faster because he's minimal. So he has better speed. That's why you see a lot of the entrepreneurs. Like, look at Gary Vaynerchuk. I never see Gary Vaynerchuk wear a suit ever. He wears the same thing I wear: a shirt, some shorts, and a hat, and some socks. Because speed, it's the speed that you want. You can't get up and put on a suit and be like, "Oh, I'm better than a guy with a t-shirt on." Like, no, you just look more presentable for a job interview. That's it. That's all you do. Like, that's what a suit is. Like, I don't like when I'm hiring somebody and I see a suit, my guard goes up a little bit because it's like, okay, yeah, you're wearing a suit, but the same thing that your company's software is using, there's people who's using that same thing in their house. You're just going by the company's guidelines, which means you have to wear a suit and you have to look presentable. But that doesn't mean that someone like me can't use that same thing and hire people who are even better than the people who's at your job, right? Because your job is not going to hire a Facebook ads guy from Pakistan, even though he's better than the guy who's wearing a suit. Because he's like, oh, he's from Pakistan, I don't want to hire him, or he has a beard, or I don't care. I just care that if I give him 2,000, he's going to turn it into 10,000. He's going to turn 10,000 into 30,000. I don't care that he's wearing a suit or not. I don't care. I care what the numbers say. Like when I get and log in my phone and my profit says 2,000 or 20,000 or 50,000. I don't care that the person who did it was wearing a suit. I just care that it was done. That's it. But that's why I see like Alex Becker. He said he doesn't even hire people from the U.S. Like now I understand what he was saying, because a lot of people from the U.S., they just inflate their prices. They just inflate their prices because they're from the U.S. And it's like, yeah, you can do that, but usually the reason those prices are inflated is because that they've leveraged other workers and they can speak good English. But from an analytical point, and a lot of times it's certainty too. Like when you it's certainty. That's another thing, certainty. But you can get certainty from other countries too. You just need to know who you're hiring. That's it. You just need to know who you're hiring. But when it comes to sales, I agree that people in the U.S. are the best at sales. By far. I would say, yes, they are the best at sales. As salesmen. But even that art form is dying. Because a lot of people, they don't know how to sell anymore. Most people, they haven't read any books about sales. Most people, they just have a product and they just text what they sell. They just like, oh, I this is what I sell. Text. That's why there's so many scammers nowadays. Because a scammer, he doesn't have to know how to sell anything. He just has to know how to bullshit his way into something that he can bullshit his way to the next thing. So he's just bullshitting. So he's a professional bullshitter. But a good salesman doesn't fall for bullshit because he knows good sales. He knows how to sell. So he knows when somebody's bullshitting him. Right? But a good salesman can be sold by a good salesman because he's like, okay, yeah, he's good. Then he just buys because he's like, yeah, I'm sold. You did good. You're a good salesman. Thank you. Right? Good entrepreneurs appreciate good entrepreneurs. That's just from my experience. Even, no matter what color or what race or what country. Like I could be in Mexico and I could walk into this grocery store and I could see a guy who has his own eggs and he's in a grocery store trying to sell his eggs products. And I'll be like, hey, are you online? Because I'm going to try to sell him. But then I think, oh, he's in Mexico. He can't afford my package. but I just might buy some eggs because he's trying to do some kosher eggs in Cancun, Mexico, right? Because I'm an entrepreneur just like him. You see what I mean? Like, you have to have a perspective outside of the realm of where you're at, or that could keep you. It'll keep you broke. Honestly, it'll keep you from going to a next level because you're cutting off a possible, like when they say don't bite the hand that feeds you. Yeah, but you shouldn't also bite a hand that could possibly feed you more, right? You could bite a hand that could feed you even more. It's not about who's feeding you because feeding is based on dependency, right? Because if you're biting a hand that feeds you, then you're dependent on that hand. But if you don't bite a hand that could possibly feed you, then now you're thinking, oh, how much more can I get? Right? You can create those. You can create them. But if you're constantly cutting them off, then you're putting yourself in a smaller hole. That's just from my experience.